Dillon Gabriel had every opportunity. Multiple starts. Full weeks of practice as QB1. And yet, the offense stayed flat, the chemistry never clicked, and fans were left wondering what the Browns were even trying to do. All it took was a handful of drives from Shedeur Sanders to flip that narrative. His presence wasn't just a spark, it was a statement. One that made Gabriel's struggles impossible to ignore, and Stefanski's insistence on sticking with him looked like stubbornness in real time.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Saw it. The players felt it. And now the shift is happening whether the coaching staff likes it or not. This isn't just a performance switch. It's a leadership shift. Sanders hasn't just earned a spot. He's redefined what the Browns' offense could look like. With every throw, he's undoing weeks of stagnation. Gabriel may not have failed on purpose, but his lack of impact made the contrast unavoidable. Now, Cleveland has to decide if it's ready to build around momentum or cling to the systems that got them here in the first place. Kevin Stefanski just got run over by a decision that wasn't his, and everyone knows it. Jimmy Haslam didn't call a meeting. He didn't float the idea behind closed doors. He confirmed it. Shedeur Sanders is starting for the Cleveland Browns. Not later, not eventually, now. And that announcement hit like a lightning bolt across the franchise. It wasn't just about who takes snaps on Sunday. It was about who's really in charge of this team. And in that one move, Haslam made it clear he's no longer waiting around for Stefanski's slow-burning quarterback experiments to pan out. The leash? Cut. The patience? Gone. The direction? Shedeur. That move sent a message louder than any press conference could. The Browns are done with the cautious wait-and-see routine. They're done watching a team with as much talent stumble around, pretending that Dillon Gabriel's string of underwhelming starts is part of some larger developmental arc. It's not. It's just a coach refusing to pivot, even when the answer's been sitting on the bench all along. Let's talk about Dillon Gabriel for a second. He was supposed to hold things down, not win the division, just keep the ship afloat. But week after week, the offense sputtered, games slipped away, and every time Gabriel trotted back out there, the momentum flatlined. No rhythm, no fire, just another 3 and out followed by another sideline stare into the void. And yet, Stefanski stuck with him, not because Gabriel earned it, not because the team believed in it, but because Stefanski refused to lose control. That's the issue, not just with the quarterback situation, but with his entire leadership style. Stefanski is the kind of coach who wants things to run through him. His system, his cadence, his structure. It's neat, it's predictable, it's slow, and it's been holding this team back. Because Shedeur Sanders doesn't fit into neat little boxes. He's not a system guy. He's not here to quietly absorb the playbook for a year and then politely ask for his shot. He's a presence. He's energy. And as soon as he walked into that locker room, everyone felt it. You can see it in the players. The moment Shedeur gets a chance, the mood shifts. The sideline perks up. The huddle looks different. Guys believe in him. And that matters. That always matters more than what some coach scribbled on a laminated card the night before. But Stefanski couldn't let go. Even with Gabriel dragging the offense down. Even with fans asking the obvious question, why is Shedeur still on the bench? That question eventually made its way up the chain, and Haslam answered it himself. That's where this gets real. Owners don't step in like this unless they've lost trust in the process. And in this case, it's clear. Haslam watched this season start to slip, watched Stefanski dig his heels in, and said, enough. This is bigger than a quarterback switch. It's a power shift. Stefanski got overruled on his quarterback decision. In public, that doesn't just happen and fade into the background. It changes the dynamic in the building. Now every player, every coach, every analyst knows the truth. Stefanski didn't back Shedeur. He got pushed into it. And that hesitation, that stubbornness, is now part of his resume. And let's be clear, this wasn't about a lack of evidence. Sanders has shown what he can do. Every time he touches the ball, there's a spark. The offense breathes. The energy picks up. It's obvious. The only reason he wasn't already the starter is because of what happened before the draft. He dropped, not because of talent. That was never in question. He dropped because of off-field concerns. A vague, tired phrase that's been slapped on more than a few players with strong personalities or unconventional paths. It was never about ability. It was about perception. And that perception, unfortunately, carried over into Cleveland. Instead of stepping into a franchise eager to build around him, Shedeur walked into an environment still too cautious to fully trust him. The coaching staff hedged their bets. They treated him like a risk, not a resource. Until Haslam stepped in and pulled the plug on that thinking. Now, with Shedeur officially starting, the entire team is forced to confront a new reality. He's not just filling in. He's being given the keys. And if Cleveland has any sense, they won't take them back. Because Sanders isn't just a quarterback, he's a catalyst. He plays fast. He plays loose. He makes things happen. He doesn't wait around for a perfect setup. He forces plays into existence. And when he's under center, the team believes something can happen. Because it does. The locker room knows it. The fan base sees it. The offense feels it. And now, finally, ownership is backing it. So what happens next? That depends entirely on whether this team is ready to adapt, to let go of the stale control that's held them back for so long. Because if Stefanski tries to reassert dominance, tries to play puppet master to a quarterback who needs freedom to lead, this will implode. Not because Shedeur failed, but because the system failed him. This can't be another trial run. If you're putting him out there, you have to commit. You have to build around him. Let him grow, yes, but also let him lead. The idea that young quarterbacks need to be hidden behind conservative play calling and safe reads? Outdated. It doesn't work. It kills momentum. And it smothers talent before it even has a chance to breathe. Cleveland's been guilty of that more times than anyone can count. But now, they have a chance to flip the script, to stop reacting and start building, to finally stop trying to avoid risk and instead embrace potential. That's the difference between staying stuck and moving forward. And Shedeur Sanders is forward. If he performs, this changes everything. Not just for the offense, but for the organization. He becomes the face of the team, the guy you market, the guy you draft around, the guy you fight for in free agency. But it all starts with whether the people in power are willing to trust him. That trust clearly didn't start with Stefanski. And that's going to be a shadow over everything now. Because if Sanders succeeds, it proves the head coach was behind the curve, that he let bias and control blind him to what was directly in front of him, that he delayed progress because it didn't fit into his system. And if he doesn't succeed, then what? It still raises questions about the delay. Why wasn't he given more reps sooner? Why was he benched for someone who was clearly not the long-term answer? Either way, Stefanski is cornered. There's no spin zone here. You're either with the future or you're in the way of it. So let's see what happens. Let's see what Cleveland looks like with a quarterback who plays with confidence, who leads with urgency, who wants the pressure, because that's what Shedeur brings. And if the Browns let him be that guy, if they support him, not suppress him, they might finally get out of their own way. And if you've been following this saga, hoping this team finally wakes up, now's your time. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Haslam made the right call? Should Stefanski still be calling the shots? And how far can Shedeur take this team if they actually believe in him? Like the video, share it with someone still stuck defending Gabriel. And don't forget to subscribe, because the Browns finally made a bold move, and whether it works or not, this story is just getting started. Kevin Stefanski's grip on the Cleveland Browns has never looked shakier, and this time, it's not about a blown call or a lost game. It's about a decision he didn't even make. Because when Jimmy Haslam stepped in and confirmed Shedeur Sanders as a starting quarterback, it wasn't just a personnel move. It was a public vote of no confidence in Stefanski's judgment. No matter how it gets spun behind the scenes, no matter what's at the podium, everyone saw what happened. The owner had to override the head coach. That's not strategy. That's crisis management. For weeks, this team looked like it was circling the drain. The offense was lifeless. Dylan Gabriel, despite being given the benefit of the doubt over and over again, couldn't generate rhythm, consistency, or anything remotely close to excitement. And Stefanski, he just kept running it back. Same quarterback, same results, same refusal to pivot. You'd think watching the team stall out repeatedly would trigger a response. But with Stefanski, it didn't. And that is what made Haslam's intervention inevitable. Because what was at stake here wasn't just a starting job. It was a trajectory of the entire season. The Browns weren't getting blown out. They were losing close, dropping winnable games. Games that could have been swung with one or two sparks of offensive momentum. Games where Shedeur Sanders' playmaking ability could have made the difference. But instead of seeing opportunity, Stefanski saw risk. And in his world, risk equals loss of control. That's been his blind spot, his unwillingness to gamble, even when the house is already on fire. And to be clear, this wasn't a locker room demanding Gabriel be replaced because of personal dislike. It was a locker room tired of watching a team with weapons move in slow motion. They knew Sanders brought something different. Not just youth, not just mobility, energy. And when a locker room senses that, it becomes impossible to ignore. Shedeur wasn't just a better option. He was the option, the only one left that made sense. And yet, Stefanski didn't move. So Haslam did. That's where we are now. And it's a turning point. Because when an owner bypasses a normal chain of command, the message is clear. He no longer trusts the judgment of the people he hired to make football decisions. That's not just bad optics. It's organizational instability. It opens the floodgates for tension, finger-pointing, and fractures inside the building. And if Shedeur succeeds, that fracture becomes permanent. Let's say Sanders goes out there and breathes life into this team. Let's say the Browns actually start moving the ball, scoring consistently, and, God forbid, winning. What happens to Stefanski then? What happens when the quarterback you benched ends up being the guy who fixes everything? It's not hypothetical anymore. The scenario is right here. And if that's how it plays out, there's no saving face. You can't spin it as part of the plan when the only reason it happened is because your boss lost patience and took over. This is a trap Stefanski set for himself. He could have been the one who believed in Sanders early. He could have taken a calculated risk, framed it as a bold coaching decision, and ridden the momentum. But instead, he got boxed in by his own caution. Now, no matter what happens next, he doesn't get the credit. He only gets the consequences. And for Shedeur, the stakes are just as high, but in a different way. This isn't just about proving he belongs. It's about proving he should have been here all along, that the doubts surrounding his draft slide were a joke, that the off-field concerns were overblown, that the people who passed on him second-guessed him or benched him were wrong. This is personal now. And that's exactly why fans are rallying behind him. Cleveland is desperate for a quarterback who doesn't just manage games, but takes control of them. A quarterback who doesn't just look the part, but feels like the leader of a franchise. And Shedeur brings that swagger, without even trying. It's not arrogance. It's conviction. And for a city that spent years surviving on scraps and almost, that kind of conviction is refreshing. He's the spark this team needed. And now that he's finally been given a job, all eyes are on what he does with it. Because this isn't just about performance. It's about presence. And Sanders is presence. From the way he walks onto the field to the way the team responds around him, it's obvious he's not just here to fill a spot. He's here to change the narrative. And the narrative needs changing. For too long, Cleveland has been a franchise with talent but no direction. Big names but no cohesion. An elite pass rush, but an offense that couldn't hold a lead. They've been stuck in a loop, new quarterback, new plan, new disappointment. Rinse and repeat. But this time, there's an opening. If they commit to Shedeur, not just as a short-term fix, but as a foundation, this could be the pivot point. The moment Cleveland stopped patching holes and started building something. But it only works if the team goes all in. That means Stefanski can't treat this like a stopgap. He has to evolve fast. No more rigid schemes. No more ease him in. No more short leash. You want him to lead? Let him lead. Give him the playbook. Let him make mistakes. Let him improvise. Give him room to do what Dylan Gabriel couldn't. ignite the offense. That's what this move is really about. Not replacing a quarterback, but reclaiming an identity. Because when the offense is flat, the whole team suffers. Morale dips. The defense gets gassed. The crowd goes quiet. And that spiral becomes impossible to break. But one player with the right kind of presence, someone like Sanders, can reset that entire vibe in a matter of snaps. And it's already starting. Even before his first official start, you could feel the fan base shift. Social media lit up. The players started sounding different in interviews. The noise around the franchise didn't feel like chaos anymore. It felt like anticipation. That's what Shedeur Sanders has brought before even stepping into the spotlight. Now it's up to the coaching staff to match that energy, not contain it. To recognize that leadership comes in all forms. And sometimes it comes from the guy you didn't expect to rise this fast. Because he has risen. He waited. He watched. And now, when the team finally needs him most, he's ready. This is Cleveland's shot. If they embrace this moment, they stop being the cautionary tale. They stop being the team that almost figured it out. And they finally become something new. But if they hesitate, if they pull back when things get messy or second guess when a rough game hits, then it all collapses again. Not because Shedeur wasn't good enough, but because they didn't trust their own boldness. It's time to stop micromanaging the future and start building around it. So now we wait, not for the decision, because that's already been made, but for the fallout. Because when Jimmy Haslam stepped in and pushed Shedeur Sanders into the starting role, he didn't just shake the quarterback room. He flipped the entire power structure on its head. In one move, the face of the franchise changed. And Kevin Stefanski? He got left behind. Let's not act like this was a long-term plan finally reaching its moment. This wasn't carefully timed player development. This was a team stuck in neutral, a quarterback with real upside waiting in the wings, and a head coach too stubborn or too scared to make the call. Haslam didn't just make a football decision. He made a correction. And that correction? It says more than any press conference ever could. Because Dillon Gabriel wasn't just underperforming. He was dragging the offense down. Not maliciously, not intentionally, but visibly. Week after week, it was like watching someone try to ignite wet firewood. The playbook shrank. The energy disappeared. Every drive felt like a gamble. Every pass felt 1 second late. And while Gabriel looked overwhelmed, Stefanski looked content to let it continue. That's what really set this off. Not just the losses, but the lack of urgency. There was no sense that Stefanski felt the clock ticking. No sense that he was willing to pivot or even experiment. Just an increasingly stale brand of football being repackaged as discipline and structure. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, the player everyone could see brought juice to the offense, sat idle. And when he did get in, the difference was immediate. The ball came out quicker. The play calling loosened. The line held just a little longer. The receivers ran harder. You could see it. Feel it. That's not coincidence. That's leadership, even if it's unspoken. Even if it's still developing. That's the thing about quarterbacks. It's not just about mechanics or reading defenses. It's about gravity. About how the team moves when they're in control. And when Shedeur steps under center, the team stops holding its breath. They believe. That belief? It matters more than anything Stefanski's done with a clipboard all year. And now that Shedeur has the starting job, this team has a chance to rediscover who they are, or maybe figure out for the first time. Because with Gabriel, everything felt like survival. With Shedeur, it feels like intention. He wants to score. He wants to dominate. And most importantly, he wants to lead. Not follow a script. Not fit into someone else's vision. Lead. That's why this matters. Because Shedeur isn't just stepping into a role. He's stepping into a void that's been wide open in Cleveland for years. A leadership void. A quarterback void. An identity void. And if the team embraces it, instead of trying to shape him into what they're used to, they might finally get out of their own way. But let's not sugarcoat what's at stake here. This isn't just about whether Shedeur Sanders plays well. This is about whether the organization is ready to evolve. Because what he brings to the table requires flexibility. It requires trust. It requires letting go of the outdated idea that leadership only comes in a suit and tie, stoic form. He's loud. He's confident. He's got style. And for some people in that building, that's a challenge. But for the rest of the league, that's normal. That's what winning looks like in 2025. Patrick Mahomes isn't quiet. Josh Allen isn't cautious. Lamar Jackson isn't textbook. These guys win because their team's built around them, not the other way around. That's what Cleveland has to do now. Not ask Shedeur to fit into an outdated structure, but rebuild the structure around what he can do. Because the truth is, the Browns have talent. More than enough. They've got weapons on both sides of the ball. What they've been missing, what they've been ignoring, is a leader who can connect the dots. Someone who can walk into the huddle and command respect, not just attention. And Shedeur? He does that. Already. He's had to fight harder than most to get here. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because of optics. Because of the baggage that came with his name. Because of how the draft process turned perception into a liability. But every time he's been doubted, he's responded the same way on the field. And now, finally, he's getting a chance to respond with a franchise on his shoulders. But let's not pretend like this is over. It's just starting. Kevin Stefanski is still the head coach. For now. But this decision, made over his head, puts him in a corner. He can either adapt, lean into this moment, and prove he can lead a team that moves forward, or he can resist, cling to control, hope the tide turns his way. And if he chooses that second option, he's done. Because what's happening in Cleveland is bigger than a quarterback change. It's a shift in philosophy. And if you're not aligned with it, you're a liability. So what does success even look like from here? It's not just wins. It's clarity. It's playing with pace, energy, direction. It's seeing a team that doesn't fold the moment adversity shows up. A team that actually believes in its quarterback and shows it not just in press releases, but in execution. That's how you build something sustainable. And right now, Cleveland has that window. For once, the future isn't clouded in uncertainty. It's right there under center, leading the team, injecting life back into the franchise. Shedeur Sanders is that guy, and now it's on the Browns to prove they know it. If you've been waiting for the Browns to finally wake up, drop a comment. Is this the start of something real? Did Stefanski blow it by waiting this long? And how far can this team go if they finally stop overthinking and start trusting what they've got? Hit like if you're ready for this team to go all in. Share this with the Browns fans still stuck in denial. And subscribe, because Shedeur's story is only just beginning, and this next chapter, it's about to get loud.